Well, earlier today, New South Wales Deputy Premier John Barilaro and his Water Minister Melinda Pavey announced they had issued a set of demands to the federal government for staying in the Murray-Darling Basin Water Plan. Now, the issue of the Murray-Darling Water Plan has really ignited over the past 24 hours as 2,000 farmers and irrigators convoyed to Canberra yesterday and again today to demand reforms to the plan. We spoke with protest organiser Kevin Koch, he's a Sunraysia Mildura Way farmer, last night following his meeting with Federal Water Minister David Littleproud and the Minister for the Environment, Susan Lee, who they said would not alleviate necessarily concerns by protesters over the plan. New South Wales Water Minister Melinda Pavey joins me now, but just before I bring her in, I want to play again the commentary from the Kyabram farmer directly to the Deputy Prime Minister, and I'll ask the Minister for her response.
You could walk up there tomorrow and tell the Liberal Party, we're crossing the floor, your government stuff, do something. You could do that tomorrow. I don't know if you're sitting tomorrow.
You might save your jobs then.
The National Party is not going to exist after the next election unless you grow some spine and stand up. Where's the passion? I haven't seen any passion from you. You're like a poker player.
Well, Minister, I know you have not sat in your office at Macquarie Street. I know you've been out in the community. Is that a fair representation of how some people feel?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And Michael went out there, good on him. But these are great people that are hurting. They can't farm, they can't pay their bills, they haven't got water. And we've seen in the last 6 weeks 300 gigalitres go out into the ocean from South Australia, out of Lake Alexandrina, formerly a salty lake. Now we've got 15 million carp in there, highest density of carp anywhere in the nation. So common sense tells you the plan's not working. So we've got to make it work. We've got to make it work for those farmers, for our communities, for our towns, for our economy. We've also got to make it work for the environment. You know, I think a lot of people forget that the day before that fish kill in Menindee Lakes, you know, we're coming up to the first anniversary. It took the nation's heart. It took my heart. I used to go fishing in the Murray River with my grandmother and catch Murray cod. That means a lot to me as well as all of our communities. We dropped so much water down to South Australia. The Commonwealth Environmental Water Holder demanded it. The water went fairly. There was also a drop in the temperature, which also had a big impact. But we killed native fish to keep carp alive. And I think this is the way.
And destroy the Barmah forest and other areas as well.
And that is another subject. But you know, what sort of country, you know, sends 300 gigalitres out to the ocean to keep carp alive, and then spends $358 million on a desalination plant for Adelaide that the poor people of South Australia have to pay? I mean, it's just crazy.
And sacrifice country towns and communities and farmers, as
and in the
saw
riverlands,
in Dubbo, as you saw in Burke. I mean,
and even in South Australia, Peter.
I agree.
Those riverland farmers, they've put in a lot of crops, a lot of wine, a lot of almonds. They are facing a situation where if we don't get rain soon in the southern basin, they themselves could run out and their investments will dry up. All we ask is we just have a look at it, and I'm happy for Mick Kelty to do that. I just want it to be genuine. And we don't have to wait till the Ministerial Council meeting. We don't need legislation. He can come in and have a look at the New South Wales books tomorrow.
I want to get into that point because, you know, call me cynical, but this afternoon, a couple of days of heat, and I think that that grab that you just saw then from the Kyabram farmer to the Deputy Prime Minister is going to be an epitaph for the National Party unless something happens and happens fast. And I think he's right, and I think it's prophetic, his comments about where the National Party will be wiped out, particularly in New South Wales. So out of that comes an announcement this afternoon from David Littleproud that there's going to be an inquiry. Now, I've worked in politics. You have these inquiries, and you have these inquiries to run over a hot summer if you don't necessarily have an answer and you want to buy yourselves time. Can this be done quicker? Can this be done more urgently? Why does it need to run to the end of March? And would you assist in New South Wales about bringing this issue to a head? Because we're only having this conversation because you've thumped the table and so has John Barilaro.
And those farmers went to Canberra yesterday.
Yes.
And I got that letter in my inbox at 10:20 last night. I want no politics in this.
Yep.
I want the scientists. I want our communities. I want our cities to be part of this. That we should not be pitting ourselves against each other. I want South Australia to be part of this conversation. You know, David Spears, the South Australian Water Minister, is a good guy. He's trying to do the best thing by South Australia, as is the Premier of South Australia. I need to do the best thing by New South Wales. But we can do that and look at it the prism of it simply not working. Kyabram is really dear to my heart. My grandmother and my father were born in that town. Mm-hmm. And so was I, actually. And to see that farmer, that good man, those good people, you know, we are all struggling through this drought, and this is what the drought has given us, an opportunity to look at what is working and what is not. And a very wise man called John Howard, when this was created in 2007, said, and in times of stress, we might even need to use the environment water for our farmers. This is not a static plan. It is not set in stone. And I do genuinely and honestly plead with South Australia to really have a good look about how it's working for them. Requiring the cost and the energy for a desal plant. We've got one in Sydney, granted, but we're not sending 300 gigalitres of fresh water out into the ocean. We wouldn't need a desal plant. So I do plea for goodwill, and I'm even working with the Victorian Labor Party. The Victorian Water Minister, Lisa Neville, has been great.
That's what people expect, though. I mean, we talk about climate emergencies and all the other crises that sit on government's desk. There's nothing more important than water. Absolutely nothing more important, particularly water to farmers, if we're going to have an agricultural sector that survives droughts, because droughts will come and droughts will go. But by God, we should have enough engineering nous in the 21st century to be able to remedy some of these issues. And don't even get me started on water storages. What would you like to see from the Minister, David Littleproud, in short summary?
I want to support David in supporting South Australia, just to have a look at the evidence, have a look at how we can get some more water back to our communities, and they include South Australian communities. Let's have a look at the fact that we've called Lake Alexandrina, those lakes down there, freshwater lakes. They're salty. Everybody knows that. History, and let's make them better for the local fishermen, not the carp businesses, but the local fishermen. Let's make the environment better. Let's make our communities stronger. And let's give our farmers a chance. That's what we have to do. This was not a plan set in stone.
John Barilaro said he's prepared to tear it up. Do you share that view?
Oh, certainly. When I walk through those communities, whether it's from Burke down to Wilcannia, those communities not being able to have, you know, a swim in a fresh river because the Commonwealth spent, you know, $30 million on a property that they haven't returned water back to yet. Anyway, we've got that moving at Terrell Station. But we need to do this in a proper way. I want to fix it. And John Barilaro wants to fix it. We're both fixers. We've both come from business. I grew up on a farm. He's grown up in business. We've had to pay bills. And we know what it's like for these farmers to have the bills that they have to meet, but with no production capacity. And it doesn't mean we have to sacrifice the environment. I think there are better ways of doing this where we can all win. It just requires a change of approach and a change of will in South Australia. And I'm not saying that to threaten them. I just think that they can get better outcomes out of this.
I agree, and I also think duck shoving something off until the end of March next year is not as genuine from David Littleproud as you've been with me tonight. Melinda Pavey, thanks for your time.
Thank you, Peter.